Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of The Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. And today I'm running a funny little experiment. My son, he's turning 14, and of course, he's about all things computers, and we talk about AI and the implications of what that would look like for his homework. And of course, apparently, the chat GPT, this bot, this AI that you can just literally ask any question, you can ask it to do any kind of task, and within limitations it fulfills it, has been a game changer for homework. And the funny thing is, the teachers apparently already have a chat GPT detector that they run the homework through, which is like insane. But so what I did was I thought, um, so many of my clients, and I've been using AI to help with creating client content, my own content, marketing content, blogs, writing a book, all of that, as a sort of like a help for like almost a year and a half when I first started looking at it. And usually I look at it because of you guys, because I'm doing this kind of Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. I have to research new topics. I have to come up with trend, on topic, timely stuff and information so that I can deliver some value to you, so that you can think about watching it every time you see a Tuesday Tea Time with Chala come live. So I actually asked ChatGPT this question: how does ChatGPT compare to writing with human personality? Because I take a lot of pride in my content. And one of the things that no matter where I go, people always say to me is, I read your emails because they're so, attention grabbing, or I read them because I laugh, or I read them because they interest me. So, and I've had a newsletter, you know, do or die. I can go on 10,000 vacations, but I either repurpose them or I will produce one a week. And it's pretty much like non-negotiable. And it's been that way for 10 years. And that's the most consistent thing that I've done in my business, if you ask me. And I've built a small but a strong base of readership. And so I was curious, could ChatGPT replace my personality, and could it replace what I'm doing? Because I feel pretty proud of the fact that, it shakes people out of their stupor of clicking and actually reading and responding or taking action. So here's what the chat gpt actually responded. And I actually, there's like 5 different points that it made about why chat gpt cannot replace me or anybody else with respect to writing engaging and creative content. So here are some of the things. And I always work with research, so I asked whether there was any research. So I think I asked something around, is there any research? And it said that research studies have been conducted to compare the quality of writing produced by ChatGPT and human. And there's no actual numbers, there's no actual stats that I got. But here are some of the findings. So the first was that ChatGPT has a lack of personal touch, and it generates information based really good, but that personal touch, that distinctive voice. So in marketing, that's called your brand voice, and it is your personality. In fact, when I teach brand personality, I talk about brand voice, and I talk about how it can be so distinct that people can recognize the difference between a Toyota ad and a Porsche ad, right? So that's what's missing. And let me give you an example. And the example that I gave is, I literally took one of my email drip campaigns from my last, and I think I did it in December 2022. I did a webinar, which I used to do a lot of them. I used to do like one a month, but I just did this last one in December, and it was called the 5 closing mistakes that prolong the sales cycle. And one of the email subject titles was called Getting Old, Waiting for That Sale to Close. So again, my personality is very tongue in cheek, kind of sarcastic, you know, pushes you to the edge. And that's like, I'm literally telling people, are you getting old waiting for that sale to close? Because I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be actually selling and inviting people into the webinar that's titled 5 Closing Mistakes That Prolong the Sales Cycle. So that's number one that's missing in the Chat GPT, that proves that it has no personality, that it really doesn't have that personal touch of sounding like me. And it can't, it really can't. Number two of why ChatGPT does not have personality is it's it said it. And remember, I asked ChatGPT these things. It said limited creativity. So it said, ChatGPT said that while we're capable of generating contextually relevant responses, it's unable to produce truly creative writing that reflects unique perspectives, experiences, and styles. So I took the second email in that email sequence, and it said what I wrote was the shocking word that stops a sale. And that was it. It was a teaser. It was exciting. It was interesting. It was shocking. So that's, hopefully, and I got a lot of people opening, and I got a lot of people joining my webinar. So, and by the way, that shocking word is your company's name. If you say your company's name more than 4 times during your sales meeting, sales pitch, your close rates drop by, I think, 14%. I wrote that down. So yeah, so limited creativity. So how did I come up with, what to write? Well, first I looked at an actual listing of all the high opening researched headlines. So first I did that. Then I thought about, and this is the part that ChatGPT can't do, is all the thousands and thousands of business owners that I've worked with and that I've heard this question from, that I've actually talked to them about. So I put together my human mind and experience with, the actual Google search of what statistically is a good open rate getter. And then I put them together, and that is creativity. So the second thing, so the first thing was the lack of personal touch. The second is the limited creativity that ChatGPT has. The third answer that ChatGPT gave me with respect to why it doesn't have personality is that it has an absence of cultural context. So it lacks cultural context, which means that it's unable to produce responses that are informed by cultural references, nuances, or subtleties. So let me give you an example. The third email in that email sequence for the webinar 5 Closing Mistakes That Prolong a Sale said, this was the subject title, did it take you 20 years to close the deal like Ben Affleck and J-Lo? So again, it was very topical because they had just gotten married, and it was all in the news because they had dated before. They were, supposed to be married 20 years ago, and then it took 20 years, and they had a bushel of kids with other people in the meantime. And so I talk about all that, right? Again, it's totally contextual to pop culture. It's a cultural context. It's not something that ChatGPT can do and apply creatively to the topic at hand. So that's the third reason why ChatGPT does not have a personality. The next reason why ChatGPT told me it doesn't have personality is grammatical accuracy, which I thought was strange because, if that's what there's, like, Grammarly, there's actual software that can fix your grammar. So, but what they're talking about is it's highly proficient in producing the grammatically correct writing. But again, it doesn't necessarily produce text that's stylistically appropriate or engaging. And one of the examples that I could think of was one of my most popular blog topics was called Sales Conversation No-Nos. So, I mean, again, that's a saying, right? It's a no-no. Like, you say that, you hear that as a kid, you say that to your kids, like, that's a no-no. So I just thought that was, one, very fitting with my brand because, like, telling adults off like toddlers, that's funny. And it's a little bit irreverent, which is kind of my brand character. and it's very interesting, topical, based on the pain. So I've put together all these references in my brain and have come up with something that's clickable and openable and readable. And even though it's not really grammatically correct, I really don't even know if that's um, if that would even pass through the grammar syntax text checks. It probably wouldn't. So that's why it's saying like it's grammatically correct, but it's still missing that stylistically appropriate or engaging kind of conversation. So another reason why ChatGPT does not have the personality. So the last reason why ChatGPT itself told me that it has no personality is the inability to generate emotion. And there's even something called neuromarketing. And it's one of the things that I was reading on, and I might even do a blog and a Tuesday tea time about it. I had written about that, I guess, about 2 years ago, and that's when I had talked about where they have Fitbit like measurement devices and or eye tracking devices where they're tracking your eye movements and or your blood or your heart rates, blood pressure, to be able to see where you're more excited or engaged or happy when you're looking at images or seeing videos of marketing, to determine the highest likelihood of purchase intent. And we used to use eye tracking on shelf studies in the stores. We used to use it for ads. We used to use it to see what liking, and we would have like these parameters of what percentage of the population or what percentage of the sample size has to like this ad, where did they eye linger, and so forth. So all of this is to say, like, it's all about emotion, and the neuromarketing is to see if your emotions are being engaged, which is then indicated by your eyes staying on it, or your pulse jumping, or your heart rates increasing or decreasing. It's unbelievable. So what the response for ChatGPT said was that it lacks the ability to generate emotions in the way that humans do. Obviously, thank God, right? And as a result, its writing lacks the depth, nuance, richness that is characteristic of human writing. And I guess the last example that I'll give you from that email drip that I used to market that webinar, the 5 closing sales that prolong the sales cycle, was the title that I used in, I guess it was the last email in that cycle, and it was the horror that I discovered when I Googled died waiting. So, I mean, it was very teasing, tantalizing, and that's what that whole sales writing style needs to be, right? If it's going to be generic, if it's not going to be like the one-to-one, I know your pain, I look at your pain, it should be the sort of more generic but targeted pain. So I'm always talking about and titillating and teasing around the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. And the pain is, what do you say? What are you saying that's wrong, that you're dying waiting for sales calls to close, or sales meetings to close, or sales deals to close? So that's what I did to generate emotion, is that I wrote the horror that I discovered, so that the emotions that are engaged, or maybe they're also going to feel horror when they see what I'm talking about. So they're going to read about it. I'm also engaging curiosity. That's an emotion. I'm engaging, entertainment, some form of emotion. And if, in my opinion, marketing equals emotion, sales equals emotion. So if ChatGPT can never ever emulate that, and I don't know, I mean, that's what it told me. I know there are, studies and debates and all sorts of research that are going on about whether it can or not. I mean, I watched Westworld, where, that's the whole thing, right? They became machines, or the machines became human, and they're too human and they're taking over. But right now, rest assured that it can't take over this emotional part of writing. So it's good news and bad news, because for a lot of my clients who hate creating blogs, videos, content, anything at all, online or offline, to produce around the topic of expertise, that they have to show off their expertise, you really can't have ChatGPT write it anymore. You can, but it's not going to be evoking any kind of emotion. It's not going to show off your brand voice. It's not going to get people to know you, like you, trust you. It's just going to be like straight off Googling. So, I mean, that's kind of good news that nobody can replace you today, as of today, and especially a machine. And bad news that this chore that a lot of you don't enjoy and don't want to do until I talk you out of it, is not something that you can hand off to a machine. So I hope that was helpful, you guys. I will see you on the next time. And I don't know, maybe I'll use ChatGPT again. I mean, it's a good tool, but you have to flavor it. You have to put in your own 2 cents. You have to put in your personality, and you have to put in your expertise and your like years and years of brain dump and data and experience and heart. Okay, that's my advice. All the best, everyone.